Awesome. Welcome to the Paketo working group meeting. I'm glad to see you all here. A friendly reminder that I don't do quite often, but makes sense. This meeting falls into the falls under the Cloud Foundry Foundation Code of Conduct, which in summary, it's be excellent to each other, like you always do. Awesome. So I'm sharing again here link to the notes. There you go. And the agenda, feel free to add yourself to attend this list, including your affiliation. Would be great. Okay, for this particular session, does anyone would like to take notes?
I can take notes.
Thank you, Frankie. All right. Great. Anyone joining for the first time? Not much. I'm glad to see Ram here, but I believe everyone here knows Ram, right? In case you don't, well, Ram is part of the Cloud Foundry Foundation. He is our developer advocate there and a big supporter of the project. So thank you for joining. Right, so normally we will review outstanding RFCs, but I believe, yeah, there are no non-draft or ready to be reviewed RFCs as of now. So we will skip this section unless there is any comment or question regarding RFCs. Nope. All right. Next up, in terms of upstream, cloud native Buildpacks, updates or questions, wondering if there's anything. I saw that Natalie Arellano was looking for feedback for this particular RFC. Feedback for, oh, there you go. All right, yeah. This proposal that deals with the deprecation of older APIs, specifically platform API less than 0.7, and also Buildpack API. So if you have any comment regarding that proposal, feel free to drop it there. Right, any other update from upstream? All right, so next item will be status update for the roadmap. So normally we will go over each one of the items here. Yeah, I'm not sure if we have complete context for all the initiatives here, but let's see. So for example, regarding the secure runtime environments proposal, are you aware of any update last month, the status of this one? No. Okay. In any case, you can ask for further comments or updates in the discussion itself, in the RFC itself. Okay, so next one, RFC 19, evolved behavior for Buildpacks set language ecosystem environment variables.
I'm pretty sure at least one chunk of the outstanding work on this will be resolved quite soon with the like re-architecture of the .NET build pack that's in progress. Once that's fully released, which we're hoping for this week, we'll have ticked off the .NET portion of this. I see that there's still some outstanding stuff related to Node and Ruby. I was wondering if any of those maintainers could comment.
Okay, thank you, Frankie. Cool. Next one, the reloadable process types proposal. Seems like it was pending PHP and Ruby validation or implementation. So
I actually think that PHP may have been closed out while I was away last week, but I will double check and close out the issue and check this off if that's done. So I think that just leaves Ruby.
thank you, Sophie. Yeah, that will leave only Ruby. Yeah, I believe here the action item will be to reach out to Dan, I believe, to confirm the status on that one. Okay, next up, remote debug. Seems like it needs validation in some language family. So besides
Yeah, I
that,
think that we just haven't really gotten to working on this in the other language families yet.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, Sophie. Ooh. Implement Jammy builders. Okay, seems like work in progress for 2 of the builders. Is that correct? Cool.
Yeah, as of last week, I think, we have Jammy support for the web servers build pack. So we're
Awesome.
continuing to make progress on this.
Great. Thank you, Frankie. Sorry. All right, next one, the graceful stack upgrades.
This is in progress, just blocked on our dependencies work, kind of the same as the Jammy builders track.
Right. Thank you. Support for Yarnberry.
I made it just in time, I guess. Sorry, I'm late,
Oh,
folks.
welcome.
Yeah, I'm still at work on this on the yarn install piece. Not much in the way of updates just now.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Anything blocking the implementation of this one? Just out of curiosity. Oh,
No, I wouldn't say so. I think there's just there's a lot of permutations to consider, and it's just been going through that. That's the challenge, I would say, but nothing blocking per se.
awesome. Thank you, Tim. Okay, next one, reduce build complexity of .NET runtimes.
We're trying to get this out in the .NET build pack releases for this week.
Awesome. Thank you. Right, big one, dependency management RFCs.
Yep, we are still actively working on this. We have completed a number of language families. I believe right now .NET Core is almost done. Ruby is about halfway done. And PHP is in progress. So I think there are a few on here that aren't quite up to date. So if anyone who's working on these could just make sure their issues are, accurately reflected here, that would be good.
Thank you, Safi. Any question regarding this family of RFCs? No. Right. Finally, distribute Buildpacks via Docker Hub. As far as I know, we don't have response yet from Docker in regards to batch, but according to testing, seems to be working without limits, and still requires validation on a couple of language families. So again, we'll reach out to the authors to find out, but I don't know if anyone else has any update regarding this initiative. All right. Seems like that's it. Okay. Is new. Loadable process types, yeah, it's investigation. Also, yeah, thank you to whoever did this. I think we need to move this one also. All right. Great. Anything else in regards to roadmap? Any question? No. Good. Thank you. All right. Okay. Next one. Project updates. Well, it seems like this week is KubeCon recovery weeks for many people. It was great to see Paketo. It was great to see the Cloud Foundry Day. So I don't know if from the team members or whoever else attended the event in person, there's any highlight you would like to share briefly here about the conference.
I can go first. It was,
Thank you.
first of all, wonderful to actually meet Paketo maintainers in the flesh. So I know there are real human beings behind the project now. But I think there was a lot of value in the talks, both the one at the CF Day and the one at the KubeCon floor on Friday also. And then I guess the biggest takeaways for me from working the booth and attending these conferences and things like that are a lot of folks from different companies have actually tried Paketo. They recognize the name, they recognize Buildpacks, and they said, we make use of this in like various places, and they were just excited to come and chat with folks about it. So it's really fantastic to see that kind of feedback from the community. And the other thing, obviously, is learning from all the conversations that Frankie and Ryan and Sophie were having with the different people about Buildpacks, and realizing how little I know, but also like learning a lot and taking some notes back. And in particular, I think the big lesson was also that Paketo is way beyond just the Cloud Foundry ecosystem. I mean, although the foundation technically has some part to play in the governance for the project, but the reality is a lot of people who had never heard of Cloud Foundry, never used it before, are all making use of Paketo, and they had questions, they had some feedback, they had some ideas about how to use it and things like that. And that was generally great to see for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Ram. Anyone else?
I don't have a huge amount to add besides what Ram just said, but in general, this year compared to last year, it just seemed like a lot more people I talked to had heard of Buildpacks, Paketo, and just had a general understanding of the technology. I feel like last year when I spoke to people, not that many people had heard of them or ever considered them as a solution. So it was good to see, just Buildpacks as a technology picking up a little bit more interest this time around. The Cloud Native Buildpacks talk about multi-architecture builds was also pretty heavily attended and had some really good questions about Buildpack specific stuff. So just good to see in general.
Awesome. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
was
thank you.
definitely, I was just gonna say, I was definitely surprised that, first of all, surprised at how emphatically some of the keynotes at KubeCon were talking about like the importance of securing a container and hardening a container, which obviously we know matters, but just to sort of hear it said again and again on large stages was cool. But then on the flip side, to see how relatively few like solutions seem to be available for solving that problem other than Buildpacks. It's like us and then people who are providing secure sort of base images and tool chains like ChainGuard, and then people who are hardening Docker file-based builds like Slim AI. But I didn't really see, we're not really in a big ecosystem solving this specific problem, which kind of surprised me given that everyone seems to agree it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe one of the big themes this year was supply chain security. So yeah, more on that later on. Yeah, I'll say thank you again for everyone in the team who did boot duties, who prepared content, who left home to be there. Thank you. We will have a more complete recap in the upcoming newsletter with links to the recordings once they are available, and a copy of the slides for each session. Yeah, thank you all. Right, anything else in terms of project updates? All right. Next up, just wanted to surface here a discussion created by a community member last week, and thank you, Jan, for adding to the conversation. It was created during KubeCon, so I'm not sure if this person attended and had this conversation and then created the discussion here, but refers to gaps of Paketo in offline environments. So feel free to add your thoughts there, or if there's anything that you would like to discuss in that regard here, it's also good. Anything right now that comes to your mind in terms of offline environments? All right, yeah. Okay, next up, non-Paketo stacks for integration tests.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, that's me. So while looking at doing some changes for the Node.js build pack to support non-Paketo stacks, I noticed that the stack that I'm using to test Python is not going to work for all versions of Node because of a dependency with glibc it's too old. So I'm going to have to create another stack to do testing, and I just wanted to kind of like raise this on just to get some input on, like right now for non-Paketo stacks for Python, I'm just using something in my own Docker Hub, which is fine. But do you want to have some kind of place where we have like a like a test stack sandbox that you guys want to publish specific images to, that you have some control over, or is there any kind of strategy on that? I mean, I'm happy to continue to do it myself and try to be aware of not making things break, but if there's any desire to put that in a specific Docker Hub repo or something, I'm happy to do that. Just I want to make sure I'm working with you guys on that.
As far as I know, I don't think we have a strategy. Somebody please tell me if I'm wrong, but I would be interested to know if we could set up just like a Paketo community stacks situation, so we could, have an official Paketo slightly supported stack that we use for testing. But I'm not entirely sure what that would look like. I know it would be kind of a maintenance burden for the stacks maintainers, and also use more resources, but it'd probably be good to have something in the project, even if we're not saying that we officially support the stacks. Are you
What's
gonna
the
add something, Rob?
what's the non-Paketo notion of that stack for testing? Like, is it primarily to test like the matching of metadata? So if the stack is going to be picked, then you could just relabel a real Paketo stack, or is it really special content?
Yeah, it's really like I'm testing things on Red Hat, images
Right.
versus Ubuntu images. So like the idea would be like I was thinking about that. We could just have an Ubuntu with a different stack name and test it. But like really, if it's going to break the integration test, it would be nice to know on something legit. But I mean, like as a short term, I'm happy to keep doing what I'm doing. But I just think it would be good to just to have you guys think about it. And if there's a some kind of plan or consensus, that would be good for me to know so that I can work with you on that.
Yeah.
One thing just coming to my mind is like in one of the, like, I think in conversations on, where was that? It was in the Java sub-team working group. There seemed to be someone interested from the Red Hat side. So maybe they even have a stack they could provide. I don't recall the name, but there was someone attending the Java working group meeting that was working on that, which will be pretty special, I think, because they plan to use the Java environment that is coming from Red Hat. So somehow different in how it works, but there might be something there to even get something right out of the box. Maybe ask Daniel who that was. I think it was a regular participant, much more regular than I was.
Not sure if it's Aussie Osborne.
Sounds familiar, so quite possible.
I've seen him attending the sub-team meeting.
Kevin, you are muted if you spoke to us.
You should hear me now, right? Yeah, I just wanted, I'm pretty sure it was Ozzy who probably had that discussion about UBI images. He works for Red Hat.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I want to be careful is I don't want to have this be interpreted as Paketo supporting these images. It's just really for testing. And the thing I created was just a simple stack that's not doing very much. It was just basically based on the base one. So I just, if there's a integration test stack repo or something that's very clearly labeled so people don't go and use it. But it could be as sort of an example. I'm happy to use whatever, but I just want to make sure it's not misinterpreted as production. And also don't want to add maintenance burden to the Paketo team. That's really part of the goal here.
Yeah, I was going to just sort of plus one what Sophie said. Certainly we haven't talked about this before. So I'm kind of like spitballing, but I think, first of all, as a Python maintainer, I don't really mind what stacks we integration test. I don't have any like opinions about whether they're like, in your repo or a community repo or something. It could be a relabeled Bionic, Ubuntu Bionic stack. It doesn't really matter for the purposes of like the Buildpack integration. Then there's like a separate conversation about like, should we have a like a set of community stacks which are like slightly more supported than some random person's like stack they built and put on Docker Hub like 6 months ago? Maybe we should probably have that conversation. maybe we as the stacks maintainers and other folks who are interested can have that like asynchronously. And then as far as like your specific situation of like what to do with Node, at the moment it's probably a Node maintainers question. Hopefully it becomes more of a, as you want, like a solution that's like constant or consistent for all of the Buildpack language families, like some sort of like clearly not fully supported stack that you can use on any like Buildpack for testing.
Cool. All right. Yeah. I mean, like the thing I envision is to just have some stack that we use to test non-Paketo stacks for Python and use the same one for Node. Like when we get there, you know, could just have the same one be used everywhere. And if it's if it was, you know, Ubuntu, I'm sorry, if it was you know, Red Hat based, that would be nice because a lot of, you know, users can check that off the list. But it's really just to make my life easier when looking at how to do this. So anyways, this is helpful. So thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Jericho. Awesome. All right. Next one. Any plans for Node.js?
That's coming from me. It's actually kind of rhetorical because I asked that on Slack already. The answer was like, apparently there are no plans yet. So I just wanted to bring it up. Like, should there be plans for a 1.0 of Node? Like it would change like rules of what kind of changes we'll see, what kind of bumps. Like for example, we just realized that with one of the recent Node releases, the Node Buildpack starts to by default call the build script instead of not calling anything. And as we've integrated that in a CI pipeline where we have a separate job doing the build, and then actually just want to package it, this broke because it like didn't find the TypeScript sources to build them because it actually shouldn't build them. It should just work on the build result. So for us, that was easy to fix, but it was not that easy to spot because it was just a minor bump, of course, because it's pre 1.0. This, I guess, would change, right? Like changing the behavior of environment variables would need to be at least somehow be introduced. Maybe people need to get warned, and we want to probably have a major bump for these kind of changes, and that would be easier to spot. So that's just a thought.
I don't have any input specifically on Node because I'm not a maintainer, but something I've been thinking about for .NET Core is I would love to set up a milestone in GitHub for all the things that we want to see done for a 1.0 release. And I think that would be really helpful to do in Node / our other non 1.0 Buildpack releases in general, just so people can track that. And also as a maintainer, it's hard for me to know how much stuff we have left on that effort.
Also, not to like get in too much into the weeds, but I'm not sure that that change specifically would have been anything other than a minor bump, regardless of pre or post 1.0, based on the RFC for Semver that we've laid out. Like that would, to me, be, as far as major versions right now, we have a change in the Buildpack API version, the build plan API, the removal of a stack, or removal of configuration options, which I don't think any of those represent the thing you're describing. That being said, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Was that the chief reason for the 1.0, or the desire for 1.0?
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I would consider this kind of change a breaking change. So maybe I have to reread the somewhere RFC and maybe make a proposal to get some stricter rules, because it's a breaking change, kind of, right? I mean, you have relied on no scripts being executed, and then by a change that is a minor bump, some scripts get executed. That is a quite a difference. I might have to get back to reading this somewhere RFC, because
So
like
um
I'd consider that a breaking change.
yeah, I
Maybe
hear
not
you.
by the RFC, but by somewhere rules. Like
No, I hear you.
what I
And
would consider.
I notice there's also like an incompatible change, but I think there was also, I think there that specific in that specific instance there was a later addition added to for folks to opt out of that behavior, but I suppose your point still stands. So
Yeah, you can easily opt out. It was easy to fix once we've spotted it, right? We can just now. It's kind of the other way around. If you don't like, you could in the past specify that some scripts should be run by setting an environment variable. Now you can set it to an empty string and restore the behavior of not executing any script. So yeah, there was a measure to actually keep this kind of, well, not really compatible. Like there is a escape hatch in there, so to say. Yeah, I guess my wish with a 1.0 is just for a more stable and like considered approach than to these kind of breaking changes, in terms of announcing them, making sure people are aware, making sure we as a Paketo project are aware of providing mitigations for these, and like providing some release notes for what users can do if they would be broken by a behavioral change.
sure, yeah,
In
and
more
that's
general
completely
terms,
fair.
right? This was one specific instance of where I would have said that this is a breaking change, and that it wasn't a major version bump because of the pre 1.0 situation. Anyway.
Yeah, I definitely hear you, and that's reasonable for sure.
Right, great. Anything else regarding to this topic? No. Okay, next one. This one is mine. There were two conversations or interactions that I had last week in the context of KubeCon. I wasn't attending in person, but even as a virtual attendee, I tried to be everywhere. And it was interesting because, for example, in the office hours, and Josh was there and team, one of the first questions that an attendee asked was, what's the difference between this Paketo thing, this Paketo Buildpacks and cloud native Buildpacks? And it's a question that I've heard several times. And also I had an interaction with a machine learning startup. She's interesting because it's a kind of workload that requires, speed at every step, especially in build time, and they are using Docker files. And also it requires a high level of security, and they're using Docker files. And they asked me, yeah, Paketo Buildpacks seems interesting, but how mature they are, these Buildpacks, in comparison to cloud native Buildpacks, like if they were different, totally different specs or API. So I believe we have a work to do in terms of how we communicate out there the relationship between Paketo Buildpacks and the cloud native Buildpacks, and how Paketo it's an implementation of the upstream API spec. And yeah, all the added value that the project provides, but there's a huge effort we need to do in terms of education, awareness out there. A lot of people already heard about Buildpacks, but there's this confusion out there with what are these new kind of Paketo Buildpacks. Yeah, how mature they are, it's a different conversation. The the topic here is in our positioning or messaging. Yeah, just surfacing this. Probably I will put this into a discussion with some ideas, etc. But yeah, it's a pattern that I keep seeing every time I interact with users out there. And that's it. I just needed to get it out of my system. So is there any comment in this regard?
Sounds like a really good idea for a blog post.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
plus one
indeed.
that I was just going to say, we probably have a handful of avenues where we can publish some information like this. I can offer obviously space on like the CF blog as well, do some cross posting and just put it out there. There's probably some information that we could send out to like the world, right? But also there's a few key publications that the CFF obviously has a continuous sort of relationship with, like think of Container Journal, think of the News Stack, think of TFIR videos. There's always something that we're looking for to publish to these avenues, and we could do it at a regular frequency as well. So like if you want to publish something now and then publish something at the start of next year, that kind of sort of clarifies this in slightly different ways, then we're more than welcome to do so, and we can make that happen. So yes on blog posts, yes on key bylines, yes on maybe a couple of videos on the CF YouTube channel or the Paketo YouTube channel, or both, I guess.
Yeah, sure. I think as an action item, I will put a placeholder PR so we can start working collaboratively to draft what will be the blog post, and probably we could extract bylines and etc. from there.
I've just quickly skimmed over the GitHub org page and Paketo.io, and like you can find the CNB logo way down on the page as a reference to, you can use the pack CLI to build using these build packs. But there's no clear reference to Paketo being an implementation of the Cloud Native Buildpack API, neither in wording nor as an icon. So maybe that's another avenue to actually make that very clear on the main entrance points to documentation for Paketo Buildpacks.
You're right. That's right. Yeah. Thank
I
you.
also just took a look at the buildpacks.io, because I'll also say that this is a question that I answered several times at the booth. Yeah, like similar experience to you, David. And looking at buildpacks.io, if you just look at the website by itself, you get the impression that buildpacks.io offers build packs that are actually capable of doing things, which it doesn't. So I think that there's potentially also work we could do to say upstream, like, hey, can you make it more clear that you're a specification? Like, because I see a similar kind of confusion talking to developers about like OCI images versus Docker images. And sometimes people have never heard of an OCI image and want to know whether Paketo Buildpacks produce Docker images. So I think that, you know, it's helpful that the OCI specification, like if you Google OCI, you immediately find out that it's a specification. Whereas if you Google Cloud Native Build Packs, you kind of also have to dig to understand that that's a specification. So I think like with the power of improving the Paketo site and the Buildpacks.io site, that relation could probably be clarified.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we will also work upstream. For sure. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anything else you would like to share or discuss here? Okay, well, with that, thank you for your time. And hope to see you in the next one.
Thanks, David. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.